Liam Hart wasn't expected to feel embarrassed in a physical therapy clinic, but that's exactly what hit him the moment he walked in, limping slightly from a hip injury he'd gotten a week earlier. The receptionist told him his usual therapist was unavailable today, and someone else would be working with him. He nodded, trying to act natural, but inside, he was bracing for awkwardness. His boyfriend Caleb had promised to come with him, but like many times before, Caleb had texted last minute that a work meeting ran long. Liam told himself he didn't mind. He often told himself that lately. The therapy assistant called his name with a warm, calm voice. Liam lifted his eyes to see a tall, steady-looking man with soft dark hair and a gentle expression. "I'm Evan," he said. "I'll be helping you today." Something about the ease in his tone made Liam's shoulders relax, even before he realized he was doing it. He followed Evan into the private exercise room, surprised by how quiet and peaceful it felt compared to the busy lobby. Evan reviewed his chart with the focus of someone who took his work seriously, but not stiffly. "Hip sprain from a slip?" Evan asked. Liam nodded, explaining the embarrassing fall on the steps outside his apartment. Evan didn't laugh or judge. Instead, he simply said, "We'll get you moving comfortably again. It'll just take patience." They started with easy stretches and simple weight shifts. Liam's hip ached with each movement, but Evan guided him calmly through every step, never rushing, never letting him feel foolish for needing help. The dynamic between them had an unexpected softness, professional, yet reassuring in a way Liam hadn't felt in a long time. Caleb rarely had time to check on him, let alone offer this kind of presence. Halfway through the session, Evan asked him to stand and slowly bend forward so he could observe his range of motion. Liam took a breath, shifted his weight, and tried to follow the instructions. But as he moved, the fabric of his workout pants snagged awkwardly on the small hip brace he was wearing. He tugged at it with frustration, muttering, "This thing always gets stuck. My boyfriend usually helps me fix it." Evan lowered himself to adjust the strap without hesitation. Purely routine, purely part of the job. But Liam suddenly felt the weight shift in his injured side. The tiny wobble startled him. His balance gave out faster than he could react, and he instinctively reached forward. His hands landed on Evan's shoulders, steadying himself before he could fall. For a split second, everything froze. Evan reacted instantly, not panicked, not alarmed, but controlled and ready. His hands came up, not gripping, just guiding Liam upright again. Liam felt heat rise in his face, embarrassed more by the closeness than the stumble. He stepped back carefully once he felt secure. "Sorry," Liam said, laughing nervously. "Guess I wasn't ready for that." "It's okay," Evan replied, voice steady and kind. "You're still healing. Losing balance is normal. That's why we're here, so you don't fall." Liam nodded, but something in Evan's calm tone lingered in his chest longer than it should have. It wasn't flirtation, not even close. It was simply gentleness. And gentleness had become rare in Liam's life lately. Too rare. They continued the session. But Liam couldn't shake the moment. Every time Evan adjusted his posture or guided his arm, Liam found himself hyper-aware of how carefully he was being handled. Not intimately, not suggestively, just with a kind of focus that made him feel seen. When they took a short break, Evan asked politely, "Will someone be helping you at home with the exercises?" "Caleb will," Liam answered automatically, though even as the words left his mouth, he wasn't sure they were true. Caleb had been distant for months, always distracted, always somewhere else mentally, even when he was physically in the same room. Liam didn't say any of that aloud, of course, but he suspected Evan could hear the hesitation anyway. Evan didn't comment or pry. He simply said, "If you ever need clarification on any of the exercises, you can call the clinic. We're here to support you." Liam didn't know why that sentence hit him so hard. Maybe because it had been a while since anyone had said something so straightforward and comforting. Or maybe because it came from someone he had known for barely an hour, yet felt oddly safe around. When the session wrapped up, Evan handed him his schedule for next week and offered a polite smile. Not overly familiar, not distant, just perfectly balanced. "You did great today. Rest, ice, and try the stretches again tonight if it doesn't hurt." "Thanks," Liam said, unable to keep the warmth out of his voice. as he walked out of the clinic. He realized he was thinking less about the pain in his hip and more about the unexpected calm that Evan brought into the room. And he wondered, just a little too much, why he already looked forward to the next appointment. Liam found himself returning to the clinic, more willingly than he expected. Each session with Evan felt like a small reprieve from the quiet emptiness he'd been living with at home. Caleb's attention, when it came at all, was fleeting, buried under work emails and calls. Liam didn't want to admit it out loud, even to himself, but Evan's presence had begun to feel like a safe harbor he hadn't realized he needed. The exercises grew a little more challenging as the week went on, testing Liam's hip stability and core strength. Evan guided him through each movement with the same calm patience as before, correcting posture and offering reminders to breathe. Each touch was professional, deliberate, nothing more. But Liam noticed himself leaning slightly into Evan's hands, seeking reassurance he hadn't sought from anyone else. There was a quiet electricity in that, a tension born not of romance yet, but of emotional dependency. During one session, Liam's phone buzzed incessantly on the side bench. He ignored it at first, not wanting to disrupt the focus Evan had created in the room, but eventually glanced down. Messages from Caleb, missed calls, reminders, most unopened. Evan noticed him frowning at the screen and asked gently, "Everything okay?" Liam forced a smile. "Yeah, just work stuff." He didn't mention that the stuff was really Caleb forgetting to check on him again, forgetting even to ask how his day had been or whether the exercises had caused any pain. The realization stung, though. He had been ignoring it for months, brushing it off as temporary, but in these moments with Evan, it became impossible to ignore. They moved on to balance drills next. Liam shifted his weight, extending the legs slowly, holding onto the rail for support. The hip brace tugged again, and he found himself wobbling. Before he could even react, Evan's hand steadied him lightly at the waist. It was a simple, professional gesture, yet Liam felt a flutter of awareness at the contact. His face warmed as he regained his balance. "I'm starting to feel guilty," Liam admitted quietly. "I think I enjoy these sessions too much. And it's not right since Caleb." He trailed off, unsure how to phrase the thought. Evan didn't move or react abruptly. He simply nodded, maintaining a neutral tone that was firm but kind. "You don't owe me anything, but you do deserve to feel supported. That's not wrong." The word struck Liam harder than he expected. It wasn't an invitation or a confession. It was simply acknowledgement. But somehow that acknowledgement made him feel seen in a way he hadn't been for a long time. Caleb had been distant, distracted, leaving Liam to navigate his recovery largely alone. With Evan, there was clarity, presence, and patience. The emotional tension built slowly over the following sessions. Liam found himself opening up about his work, about the project he loved, and about small personal frustrations. Evan listened, offering encouragement or questions when appropriate, never prying, never judging. The connection was grounded in conversation and trust, not physicality, though the repeated close moments during stretches and balance exercises layered an undeniable awareness between them. One afternoon, Liam admitted quietly, "Sometimes I forget what it feels like to have someone actually notice me. Caleb is busy. I get it, but it's lonely." Evan looked at him steadily, expression neutral but soft. "Loneliness doesn't have to be permanent. Feeling cared for isn't wrong. You're allowed to want that." The room seemed to shrink in that moment, though nothing physical changed. Liam felt a quiet pulse of emotion he hadn't expected, guilt, longing, and relief all at once. He recognized the danger in it. He was developing feelings for someone outside his relationship, but he also felt alive in a way he hadn't in months, maybe years. As the session ended, Liam lingered near the door, unsure if he should speak or just leave. Evan handed him a printed exercise plan for the week. "Remember, small steps. Don't push beyond what feels safe. And if anything feels uncomfortable, let me know immediately." "Thanks," Liam murmured, holding the paper a little too tightly. He noticed the kindness in Evan's eyes again, and for the briefest moment, he felt as if the room was holding its breath along with him. The emotional pull had deepened, quiet and subtle, and Liam was aware of it in a way that frightened him. Walking out of the clinic, he tried to shake off the feeling, telling himself it was just gratitude for professional care. But deep down, he knew it was more. Every conversation, every touch, even the accidental moments when he lost balance, was layering something he couldn't quite define yet. Something strong enough that when Caleb called him that evening, Liam found himself ignoring the buzzing phone. He didn't realize at the time, but over the course of that week, the subtle, professional care Evan had offered had begun to crack the walls around Liam's heart. Caleb's absence was a silent partner in the shift, and Evan's presence, the calm, reliable, attentive presence, was showing Liam what emotional support could really feel like. And Liam knew that returning next week would be inevitable, not just for his hip, but for the quiet, grounding presence of someone who actually noticed him. When Liam arrived for his next appointment, he felt an unusual weight in his chest. The previous sessions had been easier to manage, professional, structured, predictable. But today, the air between him and Evan felt different. He didn't know whether it was anticipation or anxiety, but he could feel the emotional tension before the first exercise even began. Evan greeted him with his usual calm smile. "Ready to get started?" he asked. Liam nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. The exercises began normally, warm-up stretches, simple mobility drills. But Liam found himself moving mechanically, barely noticing the instructions. His thoughts kept returning to Caleb, to the missed messages, the forgotten check-ins, the quiet absence that had become his daily companion. Halfway through the session, Evan paused him during a balance drill. "Take a breath," he said softly. "Focus on what your body is telling you." Liam realized that the shaking in his stance wasn't entirely physical. His hip was improving, but his heart and mind were trembling with conflict. He looked up and met Evan's eyes, steady and patient, and suddenly he felt a vulnerability he hadn't anticipated. I feel guilty," Liam admitted, voice low. "It's not fair to feel this way about someone else. Caleb and we've been together for a long time, but I feel safer with you than I should." Evan paused. He didn't move closer or place a hand on Liam's shoulder. Instead, he stepped back slightly, giving space. His response was calm, measured, careful. "What you feel matters," he said. "But it's important you make choices from a clear place, not from a sense of loneliness or hurt. I can't decide for you, and I won't push you. You need to figure out what's best for yourself." The honesty in Evan's words struck Liam. He realized that he hadn't been thinking about his own needs at all, only about trying to fit his emotions into the confines of a relationship that had been distant for months. He had been lonely, and he had been craving attention, connection, and support. Evan wasn't offering romance or intimacy. He was offering something else entirely: presence, care, and validation. As they continued with the session, Liam noticed how each movement now felt charged, not physically, but emotionally. The smallest gesture, the light guidance Evan provided when Liam faltered, carried a weight Liam hadn't expected. It was gentle, professional, yet somehow deeply grounding. And Liam realized he was drawn to it, even as he understood that it complicated his life outside the clinic. After the exercises, Liam gathered his things more slowly than usual. He couldn't stop thinking about Caleb's absence, the pattern of neglect and distraction, the emotional distance that had grown over time. It wasn't just a temporary lapse. It had been months, maybe years, of feeling unseen. And now, here in the clinic, he had a clear contrast. Someone who genuinely noticed him, who was patient, calm, and reliable. That evening, Liam made a decision. He didn't rush. He didn't act impulsively, but he took the first step toward clarity. He called Caleb, and after a long, tense conversation, he ended the relationship. Not because of Evan, not because of fleeting attraction, but because he realized he had been living without true emotional support for far too long. He deserved better, and he couldn't continue ignoring the neglect that had hollowed out so much of his daily life. When Liam returned to the clinic a few days later, it was different. This time, he wasn't there just for therapy. He was there to speak, to reconnect in a new context. He approached Evan, heart still racing but clear-headed. "I ended things," he said softly. "Not because of you, but because I finally realized I can't keep waiting for someone to care the way I need them to. I wanted to tell you first." Evan's face remained calm, composed, and warm. He didn't step closer, didn't make promises, didn't cross boundaries. "I respect that," he said. "And thank you for trusting me with that. You made the decision that was right for you." For the first time, Liam felt a quiet sense of relief and clarity. The emotional weight that had been pressing on him for months began to lift, replaced by something fragile but hopeful. He wasn't rushing into anything romantic. He wasn't seeking immediate intimacy or reciprocation. He simply wanted to explore the connection he had with Evan, slowly, safely, and intentionally. "Can we start over as friends?" Liam asked, almost hesitantly, "and see where that leads?" Evan's smile was subtle but genuine. "At your pace," he said. And for the first time in a long while, Liam felt that it was safe to breathe. The session ended not with drama or tension, but with quiet possibility. They walked out of the room side by side. No rush, no expectations, just two people navigating trust, boundaries, and the slow uncovering of emotional connection. Liam left the clinic that day with a sense of hope, knowing that the next chapter of his life wouldn't be defined by neglect or absence, but by choice, clarity, and the careful steps of emotional honesty. And in that quiet, understated moment, Liam realized that sometimes the deepest bonds are built not through dramatic gestures, but through consistent presence, patience, and the simple act of being truly seen.